Hey, welcome back to the Big Ranch Show. Thank you for joining me. What's up today? Well, on this video, we're going to discuss the supposed worker shortage. Now, after a year of pandemic, companies are claiming they can't get people back to work, and they are blaming the $300 bonus added to unemployment and the fact that more people were able to get unemployment. But let's start this by saying one thing. If your wages are so low that unemployment with a boost of $300 is too much to get people back to work for you, then your wages are too damn low. Now here's the thing. People have spent the last year scared to death, scared that they are going to die. During that year, they have discovered something. They have discovered that their time and their lives are more important than your businesses. Yes, people need to get back to work. I understand that. We can't make the economy work unless people go back to work. But here's the thing. After spending a year in quarantine, a year plus, scared to death that they could die at any minute because of a stupid virus that we did not have a vaccine for until recently, people are not going to work for $7.25. They are not going to go back to work for $7.25, regardless as if they got unemployment or not. There's one thing about scary situations. In a deadly pandemic killing millions of people across the globe is one of those. It makes people think. It makes them stop and think that their time is more valuable, that their lives are more valuable. And you know what? Some businesses are starting to understand that. Instead of crying and whining and moaning, places like Chipotle have already bumped their minimum pay to $15 an hour. Why? Because they understand the situation going forward, don't they? They get it. They understand that people are not going to come back to work for extreme poverty wages. They're not going to go bust their rear ends every day for $7.25 or even $8.25 or $9. Literally $15 isn't even enough to still cover rent in most parts of this country. It's not enough to feed children. So it's the least a business can offer. But I see signs now. I see places where even McDonald's in some places are offering $15 an hour for new hires. Because they can't find the workers. And the workers are demanding more money. And that's one thing about the system that people don't want you to understand. They don't want you to think that labor has a word in the pay. But if you don't show up, they have to raise their pay. So labor has power. They don't want you to believe that. They don't want you to know that. They don't want you to know that you have a say in how much you get paid. But our market, a free capitalist market, is consumer and labor driven. If more consumers are buying product, businesses have to hire more workers to make up for that. But if more people refuse to work and more customers and more consumers are buying, and they need the extra workers, guess what? They have to raise pay. They don't have a choice. Because they got to get workers. Because businesses can't make money without workers. And some people are like, well, they'll just keep automating more. Well, they're going to automate anyway, people. There's nothing you can do to stop McDonald's from going completely kiosk. But by 2050, you're not going to see too many human workers up front. They're all going to be back in the kitchen until businesses are able to figure that out. So automation's coming no matter what we do. But until then, people need to be being paid a reasonable fee, a reasonable rate. Think about it. Think about this. When someone goes to work at Walmart and say they're making $9 an hour, and they have a child, so they have to pay for a bed, an apartment. They got to pay for their kids' food. They got to pay for their food, and they got to pay rent. So what do they do at $9 an hour? That's right. They have to go stand in the welfare line, even though they're working. And most of the time they get turned down. Like I know where I was at in Texas. The moment my wife got a job, within weeks we were totally SOL when it came to getting food stamps. Even though she was busting her rear end and barely making ends meet. And that was over $7.25. At the end of the day, labor has they have the control of the purse strings. All they have to do is use that power. Keep holding out if you need to. If you believe your time is worth more, do what you can to get more money for yourself. The fact is, if people were just to go straight back to work, these businesses wouldn't be raising their pay. And people's time is worth more. It's worth more than you ever thought prior to this pandemic. You can think what you want about people and call them lazy, call them stupid, call them whatever you want. But after a year, I think of having time to think and look back at their lives, they're not going to be willing to just work for pennies anymore. But when you work somewhere for $7.25 an hour or around that, or even a little bit higher, you're still on the welfare lines. With the the taxpayer, are still paying the salaries of Walmart and other businesses that allow these workers to live on poverty wages. I'm sorry, if you put in 40 hours a week, you shouldn't want for anything. Your bills should be paid. You shouldn't have to worry about where your food's coming from. And at $7.25, you're not paying for anything. So no, it's not the unemployment. It is not the extra $300 in the unemployment that is causing people not to go back to work. It's the lack of respect from the businesses that are making them not go back to work. They've spent a year paralyzed by a virus that at any point could have got into their homes and killed them and their entire families possibly, which happened a number of times across this country. Part of the 500, almost 600,000 dead in this country. Many of these people watched their family members and their friends die. And they're not going to sit there and take it. They're not going to sit there and go back out into a workforce that doesn't care about their well-being or the fact that they need to make rent. At the end of the day, it is what it is. Anyways, folks, I'm glad to see that the economy is starting to come back. I'm glad to see that some businesses like Chipotle and even some McDonald's locations are starting to realize that they need to increase their pay. Anyways, this has been The Big Ranch Show. I've been your host, Jacob Keck, and I'll see you down the road.